Joy, joy, joy. This is Swami Tirtha. Welcome to another episode of Mission Ignited. And today I'm very excited for many reasons to introduce you to Dr. Jami Lee. Dr. Jami is a holistic health practitioner and educator, and she helps people understand their body's innate ability to heal and repair itself. She focuses on mind-body connection, how stress and trauma and lifestyle patterns show up in our bodies. She's the founder of A Body in Repair and Alternative Healthcare Solutions. Dr. Jami, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me, Swami. I am so excited to be here. I think when we first met, we just hit it off so much that we ended up talking about things that we didn't even know we were planning to talk about.
And we want to cover that today too. Tell the audience how you got started in this without necessarily getting into the second thing we want to talk about.
Um, that's a great that's a great question. So, briefly, I'll just kind of explain when we talk about these things, we talk about how the wound makes the healer. And the wound in me was when my daughter was diagnosed with polyarticular arthritis and was pretty much sentenced to a lifelong medication route of injections once a week in her hand and pain medicine around the clock. And they basically told me that there was no way of putting it in remission, and that if it ever did go in remission, it would be a miracle. But that's just not how our body works. And thank goodness she has a very stubborn mom who refuses to go down those paths. And long story short, I built this entire protocol for her, learning all about the body's innate ability to heal and repair itself, and
Mm.
put her body into a healing state. And she was healed within 90 days. So, and that was both arthritis, polyarticular arthritis, which for those of you who don't know, it's one of the fastest growing arthritis. It starts in the small joints and leads to the large joints. So it can be pretty crippling. But yeah, so that was the prognosis for her. And I just, I thought, this can't be it. This can't be the life that was created for her.
And you were right. You made it reality.
Yeah, yeah.
And then did people say, "Hey, you helped your daughter, can you help me?" Or does it sort of just spread like that?
Yeah, it did. It actually got me really passionate about it because I started seeing it everywhere. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Right, right, right.
And people started to come to me, and I just became very passionate about, teaching people that their body can heal, and that there were miraculous provisions from the foundations of this earth for
Yeah,
us to put our
yeah.
body into that healing state. And they've been here since before we existed. And so learning what those provisions are and learning how to communicate with our body, and our purpose here was really about, what sparked all of this in me and made me very passionate about helping people.
And so when you help people, are you helping them just with a mindset? Are you giving them things for the to eat? How does it work for you?
So we always start with the food, because what the food does is it elevates their frequencies, right? So when we are in these low frequencies, we gravitate towards low frequency foods. We're eating Oreos because we're stressed. We're eating canned foods because we're tired, right? We're eating microwaved food because we're in a hurry. All
Yeah,
of these foods cause our body to be in really low frequency states. And
yeah.
because of that, we're not able to heal, we're not able to repair, and we constantly stay in this cycle. So, yes, food is always the first step. It's to
Mm,
basically support that next level of healing, which starts to address the inner work that needs to be done. What kept us down there? What made us make those decisions? What beliefs did we have that
mm.
kept us into this lower state that made us gravitate towards those low frequency foods? So, any way that we can elevate those frequencies and get the body to start to open up and feel better, then we start to address kind of more, some call it mindset, but and some call it therapy. But it's different than talk therapy. It's actually quantum healing, where we really go into just what the 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 subconscious mind is trying to tell the conscious mind, and there's a big miscommunication that's happening. And so it's really identifying what the body needs. We use kinesiology to kind of
Mhm.
find some of those things as well. um, but really a lot of times the body knows, it has a memory like none other, and it is able to communicate those things. It's really just given, your body the microphone to listen to it, what is trying to speak to you, before we find what those illnesses are. It goes back to our emotions too. I mean,
Mhm. Yeah.
again, elevating those emotions into high frequencies, that positive state,
Yeah.
that frequency of life and joy and love, and all of those frequencies are healing on a cellular level,
Yes.
like we can't even imagine how much that impacts us. I always tell my clients, when you have something that rewires your subconscious, there's a couple things that happen. One, there's an emotional event, then there's a physical event, and then there's an action. And those three things are what wire the subconscious mind. So whether it
Mhm.
was a
Yeah.
car accident, I had to be in a wheelchair, and now I'm depressed, like all of these things that
Mhm.
happened that keep
Mhm.
you at those low frequencies. But at the same time, there are that's how you rewrite it. You find that
Yeah.
emotion, and
Yeah.
you find that positive action that you take, and
Yes.
and you change the wiring, you change the way we stay. So yeah, I agree. Like finding those high frequency things to elevate our bodies into, and our minds, and our spirit, and that's how we find healing.
That's wonderful. That's so true. It's just because I want to talk about some other fascinating things with you. Is there anything else you want to say about this? I don't want to cut it short, but
Or is
we
that this? So we might as well cut it short.
okay. So hard cut later that day.
Or
So you and I have something in common. We both had some form of premonition, foretelling of things that people were going to head to heaven.
yeah, yeah.
Tell us your story, please.
Well, yeah, I love this because this was again that conversation that we had that we didn't even expect to have. Like I did not jump on a call with you expecting to talk about this, and
No.
then there we were hours later.
Yes, literally.
But right, but this is really so cool, and how it just works where we our souls are all connected. um but my story started with as a child. I was raised in a family of nine. My mom and dad, I was homeschooled. I was the second oldest, and I would have this reoccurring dream that I was laying on top of grass in front of a headstone, and there was someone below that grass that I just was weeping to be closer to. Like I just wanted to be close to that person one more time, to give that person a hug, to embrace that person, but I never knew who that person was. And this dream happened so often that I finally went to my mom and I said, "Mom, what's our family tragedy?" And mind you, I'm probably 8 at the time. And mom,
Professor.
right?
Hello, Professor.
I said, "Mom, what is our family tragedy?" And she was just like, "What do you mean family tragedy?" I'm like, well, every family has a tragic story, and I don't know what ours is. And she said, "Well, maybe it's just that your sister is deaf. Maybe that's our family tragedy." And I said, "I don't feel like that's it." I said, I feel like it's something else, like we're gonna lose somebody." And of course, she did not want to hear that.
Mm,
I kind of had peace with it. Even as a child, I felt like I was being prepared for that.
mm, mhm.
But how can you really truly be prepared for loss, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, when you lose someone, there's no, oh, I knew that was going to happen. It doesn't hit you that way.
No.
No. And it can be completely disruptive to your nervous system. It can be completely disruptive to your life.
Yeah.
I think that for me, it really challenged what I believe.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
what
for sure.
do I believe,
Yeah.
about afterlife? So that was kind of the beginning of my story of just understanding that something could and possibly was going to happen. And years later, my 13-year-old brother was in a car accident. My 16-year-old brother was driving and they were T-boned at a stop sign. And my brother was immediately killed on the scene. So that was our tragedy, our family tragedy that really shaped our life and changed things. But there were so many.
Excuse me, did you immediately say, "Oh, that's who it was"? When did you draw the two together? When did you make that connection to the grave?
I think I felt so many things
Yeah.
prior to that feeling. It was more of a why I was angry. Why
Mm.
did I have to know this was going to happen? Why did I have to be right?
Yeah.
Um, what's wrong with me? Like it was almost like a why do I have to, was it within my power to stop it? Was it my
Yeah. Yeah.
place to stop it?
Yeah.
Did I have was that my whole purpose is to know that it was going to happen and then prevent it?
Right.
So there
Right.
were so many questions that hit before that one. It was almost like that one didn't even matter.
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean there was a lot there.
There's a lot to process there. How
Mm.
old were you when your brother passed?
So let me think. I was 28 when he
Oh,
passed.
okay. All right. That's a
Yeah.
long way.
So I already had children at home.
Right.
I had let's see, I had five at home already
Okay.
when he passed, which is also a really cool part of the story because I had five children. One was 8 months old on the hip, and right before he died, he would come up to my belly and he would rub my belly and he'd say, "How's my little niece doing?" And as you can imagine, with baby number five on your hip, that was like, get out of here. Like, don't talk to me. I wanted so hard to smack him in the face for saying something like that. I was a tired mama, but as he would say that to me, it was always just all excited and warm, and of course I rejected it. But after about a month or two after he had passed, I became
Mm.
pregnant, and um, I of course was exhausted, but I also had this feeling like he knew before he died that I was going to have this baby.
Yeah.
And we ended up having the baby's due date was actually on the 1 year anniversary of losing him. And I was so conflicted because how could I have this baby on the 1 year anniversary of his death?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I needed to protect that day for mourning. Like that was going to be hard.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine going through something like that. And thankfully, I gave birth the day before, naturally went into labor the day before, and on the day of his anniversary we named her, and she was named Evelyn, which means beautiful breath of life.
Oh,
And it was just kind of in honor of losing the life and
yeah.
honoring the breath of life. And so what was cool about that is that about when she was about 4 years old, 3 or 4 years old, she came to me one day and she said, "Hey, mom, do you remember Uncle Dan?" And it shocked me because we really didn't talk about it. It was a painful subject to talk about. We were all still struggling with grief, limited resources in our area. And so she didn't have an awareness of him. We didn't mourn him the way most people did. It was so painful. It's like we didn't have, a lot of people would have a shrine up, and that type of thing. We couldn't. And mainly because we were so well known in our hometown that no matter where we went, his face was plastered somewhere saying, "Support the Robinson family," or strangers would come up to us and say, "So sorry about your loss." So in our home, it was almost like we needed a place to breathe.
Wow. Wow.
So for her to say that, it was very striking because she was born after he had died. And I said, "Yeah, I remember Uncle Dan. What about him?" And she says, "Remember when I was crying because all those balloons were going up, 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 and I wanted a balloon. And I just sat there and I'm like, what? I said, no. And she goes, yeah, remember I was crying because I wanted a blue balloon and they were going up, 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 and I couldn't get it. And Uncle Dan gave me one. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She had no idea that on the day of, or maybe she did, on the day of his funeral, we released blue
Oh,
balloons
wow.
and like in hundreds. It was a huge community mourning, and we released all these balloons. And this was right before she was actually conceived. So she would have had an experience on a spiritual plane
Yeah. Yeah.
before she came to this earth. Isn't that
Yeah.
wild?
They say, and I have a memory of this standing up in heaven next to God and him pointing down saying, "This is going to be your life. Is that, are you okay with that?" You know, and I don't remember the specifics, but I see that image.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
she well could have been shown when you see the balloons, it's going to be your time.
yeah. And she also had been my most spiritually aware around the time of his accident on that year, or, each year anniversary. She would mourn him. She would say, I just miss him so much. And she would cry. And for me, it was almost like, I'm going to get choked up saying this. It
Yeah.
was almost like my brother was using her to evoke emotions in me because of what I shoved down to
Mm,
not feel those emotions. This
yeah.
innocent little girl who never met him, in the world, and as the world
Imagine.
as we know it,
Yeah.
she never met him, but she allowed me to feel my feelings and not evade them, not escape them, but to face them and to actually mourn and
Wow.
cry with her. And
Mm.
so it was just such a neat experience. But it really starts to call into question, what do you believe?
Yeah,
So,
I don't believe any of it, but it happened. That's all I know.
right? How can you? Like, it's very difficult to land the plane on what it does look like afterwards. But
Yeah.
I do believe this. I believe that we have purpose. I believe that our spirits know. Our spirits know when it's time and when it's not time. My brother left us marks all across our land, our home, little cues, that said he was here and that he loved us, and were little reminders. He would write on the wall in the basement, it says, "Remember, Dan loves you."
Yeah.
Or right the day before he died, he left a note on our chalkboard that said, "Danny loves you." And it's these moments that we have after his passing that we realize how fragile life is,
Mm.
but also how there is a knowing, and there's an innate ability to understand that this time on earth is just short, and we're here for a very specific purpose, and we're all connected.
Yeah. Uh,
Yeah.
that's amazing. It just and when you hit me, when you also use the word that I use, which is recurring dreams.
Yeah.
I had the recurring dreams, and that's what kept it going, kept it,
Yeah.
you know. So that's
Yeah.
very
And
interesting.
yours, when you had your recurring dreams, did you have a knowing with that, or did it come with a fear?
Boy, the dreams started around 7, so I think I don't know if it would be numbness as much as just astonishment or what do I do with this?
Yeah.
Um, it wasn't hurting me. I wasn't consciously afraid. I was more like, how is this happening? Why is this, it just didn't make sense, I think.
Yeah.
Later on, the dream changed to a different dream, but the same message. But once in the real world, at a stoplight, we were all in the car and my vision went black and I said, I don't want you to die. And I was crying. And I don't know where I got that from. I just heard it come out of me. Um, and then the closer it got, the more something was really upsetting me. And I couldn't really say why. I didn't know. I never could draw the back picture back to the beginning. But after they died and I settled in after the grieving, then I started to say, I was being told that. How did I know that? Even my father, when we got home, we were in summer camp. When we got home to go to the funeral, there all these other parents were there helping us out, and one of them went right to his dresser drawer, pulled it open, and there were two wills sitting right there. How did he do that? How did my father put, it just weird, weird stuff that just says, no, no. Because in the midst of the grieving, that tore through that reality to say, look at this thing. So, which I think probably helped a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
You get the support of another world.
Yeah, I think so too. That's incredible. You remind me too about, when you said that the dream shifted.
Yeah.
Um, Here recently, we had an experience of my brother having a dream.
Okay.
And so I have the brother that was driving. I actually have, again, nine family of nine kids, but there were only three boys. So the oldest brother, Chris, and then my brother, Tom, who was driving, and then my brother, Dan, who was killed. And my brother, Tom, had a dream a couple weeks ago, or I think it was probably a couple months ago by this point. And his dream felt so real. And what happened in this dream was that he dreamt that he was in a church sermon, and the pastor mentioned Dan,
Mm.
and just kind of casually, like, Dan and his wife are, asking for prayer for X, Y, and Z, just kind of rattled something off. And my brother knew that that was our brother. And he immediately, as soon as the church was over, he went up to that pastor. He's like, "You mentioned Dan. Who's Dan? What, is this my brother?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, he lives in New York." And my brother Tom's like, no, he died. I was in the accident. They put me in a coma, and he's like, "This didn't happen. He's dead." And he was like, "Oh no, he's living in New York. He's fine. He's got a family." And he's like, I need the address right now. I need to go." And so they gave him the address, and he immediately went home. He booked a flight. He had all these leftover points. And there's all these things that line up with his real world. Like, in his real world, he was going to that church. In his real world, he had airline points, like all
Wow.
of these massive airline points, right?
Wow.
And so he goes home and he books this flight and he flies to New York, and he goes up to the address and he knocks on the door, and my brother Dan opens the door, and they have this amazing reunion, and they just embrace and cry and fall to their knees. And he said, "I've been wanting you to know I'm here. I'm good. I have a life," and was showing him his stuff. And my brother Tom was like, "I just needed to know you were okay." And so they had this moment together. And so Dan decides to take him out four-wheeling and just join their brotherhood, right? So they go outside the city of New York in the stream, and they go through sand dunes. They're riding these four-wheelers and dirt bikes and just having a great day all day. And then my brother Tom goes home and has dinner with them. They have this great meal. And then he leaves, he gives him a hug, he gets on a plane, flies back home, and he wakes up. And when he wakes up, he's so exhausted. His body is sore, as if he had just rode four wheelers the whole day. His body is just exhausted, and he was so happy.
Yeah.
And his spirit felt so free, just like he's okay. And so he had to call my brother, my other brother, Chris, and he said, "Chris, I have to tell you this dream I just had." And here's where it gets fun. Chris said, "No." He said, "I have to tell you my dream first."
Wow.
And so he says, "Okay." And so Chris gets on there and he says, "I had a dream that I found out Dan was living in New York. So I bought an airline ticket and I flew to New York, but I looked all over for him and I couldn't find him, but I know he's there. He's there in New York City. And Tom says he wasn't in New York in the city because we were together in my dream riding four wheelers.
That is the coolest.
Coolest thing. And so it's this this idea, this there's so many levels here that's connecting. There are two brothers that have an experience to confirm one each other's dream
Yeah, yeah,
without even knowing. There's no prior conversation to this. There's no nothing. In fact, you're talking about a family who has a belief system that really doesn't believe anything like this.
right,
we
right.
were we were raised, you die, you go to heaven, and you're with Jesus. End of story. Like, we
Yeah.
don't know what we're there doing. We're singing hallelujah, hallelujah, like, right? That's what we're doing after we die. That's the end story.
Not
But
motorbikes, not
not
four-wheelers.
motorbikes, not a different world, not a different life, right? So this really changed their feelings and their beliefs
Yeah,
on what is possible. And I like to look at it like this. I like to look at it like we're on channel 22
yeah, yeah,
and Dan is now on channel 23.
yeah,
And if you were to switch that channel, whether it's through sleep, through meditation, through
yeah.
psychedelics, whatever it may be, you may tap into that channel 23.
Right, right. Very cool. Wow. So, do you do anything with that with your clients?
So any of that, huh? We go into what their beliefs are.
Okay,
A lot of times that's what is preventing them from healing. If you have a belief that you're not able to heal, you're not going to be able to heal.
right.
If you have a belief that you're going to die, chances are that's probably what's going to happen. If you have a belief that you're going to get a little bit better, then that's what's going to happen,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, we see this all the time, but the body is so amazing. I always like to take my clients through this process of, like, just kind of sinking into the body and feeling the body for a minute. And then I explain to them, okay, I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and I want you to imagine that I'm handing you a lemon. And I want you to imagine you squeezing that lemon, rolling it around in your hands. Now I want you to imagine that you're cutting that lemon in half. And now I want you to imagine that you're seeing the inside of that lemon. You're seeing the seeds and the pith and the flesh and all of the juice surfacing. And now I want you to imagine that you are licking all of that juice off of the lemon.
right.
And your body will immediately respond. My
Yeah,
jaw, I can't get through this exercise without my jaw like clenching up. My jaw starts to
right.
ache and like I just bit into a lemon. And that is our body. You'll find that our body immediately responds. It immediately prepares for what the mind's eye is participating, or what is anticipating, or what it's visualizing. And so that's how our body responds to healing. You felt that orange in your hand. You experienced that orange. I'm sorry, that lemon, and you imagined licking it, and that caused your body to have a physical reaction and
Yeah,
prepare for it. And healing is the same way.
yeah, 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 yeah. So it's amazing. It's wonderful work you're doing. It's a, it's, it's a mystical. I mean, we're entertained, so to speak, helping with the process. It's healing us, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm speaking for you. I'm sure it's probably helping you too. If
Yeah.
you whether I mix herbs, so I used to mix herbs and I would feel amazing when I mixed herbs. Now when I meet new people, and I used to be very, very shy, and now it's like it starts out a little bit like, you get that stress of, oh, I didn't meet a new person. But after a while, it's like, wow, I'm looking forward to this because this is a new kind of healing now. I did the herbs before, now I'm doing going to public. Um, so
Mhm.
whatever we're doing, it's a calling. It's a calling, and I feel, and the
Yeah,
more we pick up the phone and make the call, the more we are completed.
yeah, absolutely. I think too, it's the intention that we put behind it.
Mm.
If you have the belief and the intention that the herbs are going to heal you, and that's going to be your delivery for healing, then that's where it's going to come, right?
Mm.
If you have the belief or the healing in that working with one individual is
Yeah.
going to usher in that healing, then that's what's going to happen. But it goes back to the root is that there is a belief there that healing is going to happen, and it's an action of acting on that belief.
Okay, I'm going to take that and dimensionalize it.
Okay, okay.
All right? Because I'm thinking what you're saying, and it wasn't adding up in the world here, but it's like, okay, I was always holistic, and in every winter when everybody in the city got the flu, I got the flu, but I would go to the health food store, and I tried everything there, and nothing worked. As a last resort, just on its own came up the Ayurvedic herb, and it was just one more thing to try, and it happened like that. It wasn't in my conscious that I believe it. But as I thought about you saying it, I feel like I had lifetimes in India because I resonate so much that that may have come through. Past lives, I always got better from herbs, you
Mhm,
know. I'm guessing that. So
mhm.
it could have been from a past being pulled into this life.
Yeah.
So I would say that on the dimensional level too.
I think you're right. And I think there's also an element that there is a collective belief that Ayurvedic heals. And
Mm,
so you're tapping into a collective belief.
that could
And
be.
I think in a supplement world, we have a collective belief that this might help.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
This might do the trick. And so we're tapping into that collective belief. Um, so I think there's a lot to frequencies, a lot to be explored, a lot to be discovered, a lot to study. And
Yeah.
and I think that we'll find that the more we tap into the collective belief of healing, the more collective healing we'll see.
We'll end on this idea. I had these nose drops from India, ancient formula, and I had people come to see me, and they'd try them in the shop, and I would go get their herbs ready or whatever, and they after 3 minutes they go, you know what? I'm not depressed anymore, just like that. So everybody I gave it to, it was great. I
Yeah,
gave it to a friend of mine. He's a psychologist. Nothing, nada. Why? Well, no, he didn't say why, but he resonates with the Chinese medicine, not
yep,
the Ayurvedic medicine.
yep,
So it's my go-to, but not
yeah.
for people who resonate with Chinese medicine. So he's into one collective, plugged into one collective. I'm plugged into the other collective. I'm just thinking of all this as you're talking about it. So
Yeah, yeah. I think there's a lot of different areas you could look at it too. But I do know that if you took two different forms of zinc, let's say just for example, and they're both 30 milligrams of zinc, and one is made in one factory and another one is made in another factory, one may resonate with you and the other
yeah,
one may not because they
yeah,
are manufactured with different frequencies.
yes, yes, yes,
So there's going to be that, that element to it as well. I mean, I think really when we dive into um, understanding that we're all made out of energy, everything is made out of energy, and finding what that energy that resonates with us. Um,
right,
that and really that's why I love tapping into the muscle testing and kinesiology because then there's no guessing game in it.
right,
You're able to really see what your body resonates with by asking the body.
yeah, right. Well, this has been very fascinating, Dr. Jamie. We could do this interview for hours.
Good, we
Where
could.
can people find you? What's a web address? How do they find you? Your website, your contacts?
Yeah, the best way to find me is go to join-ahs.org. And in there, we have a community. You'll find updates to where we have events once a month that talk about different topics, anything from narcissistic abuse to healing the body from autoimmune, you name it, all across the board. I have a collective of practitioners who love to teach, who love to help people heal. We all believe collectively the same thing, that your body is able to heal itself and repair. And you'll be able to join us in our community online and be a member there, or you're able to even just dive in and jump into a workshop and experience things for yourself. So that's the best place to find me.
Right. Thank you so much, Dr. Jami. And thank you all. And check out Dr. Jami. As you can see, she's a fascinating person to talk with and a wealth of information. Wish you all joy, joy, joy until the next time.
Thank you for having me.